For the first time since Sam had left his apartment, nerves woke up and twitched down his arms and into his fingers. It was one thing to think that he wouldn't be able to do much for the RSA. It was another to realize that, just maybe, he could. The RSA would have to rely on word of mouth for now. Sam knew they wouldn't have a critic in the audience for this show. But if people saw something they liked tonight, and if they liked it enough to go home and tell their friends, relatives, co-workers, whoever, and if those people then told some more, that was how you filled a house. Had Sam done enough? Had he tried? Lydia had taken his score and baton on stage earlier and set them on the music stand on the conductor's podium. Sam's fingers moved reflexively, wishing they had the smooth wooden baton grip to hold on to. You can do this. You have to. The house lights went down. Sam closed his eyes. The stage door creaked open. Lydia said, "Good luck, Victor." Sam heard the concertmaster's footsteps and the polite scatter of applause from the house and realized, all at once, how many times the people on this stage had done exactly this same thing together before. Lydia and Victor certainly had. All of them had stuck with the RSA because they loved it, watching the houses dwindle and the board sit on its hands, showing up anyway to play the music they cared about, whether or not they had any real hope of a future. And now, here came Sam, the maestro, the outsider. The orchestra was tuning. Sam heard the oboe's clear note and pictured Rachel Lewis in her long black skirt and black jacket, adjusting her glasses, waiting for the show to start. Sam's egg sandwich had solidified into a lump of ice in the pit of his stomach. He locked his hands together behind his back. The tuning sounds faded. In another second, the stage door would open again. Sam would have to go out there and bow to the audience and turn to his players, and... The stage door creaked again. Lydia said, "Maestro?" She had never called him anything but Sam, as if a whippersnapper didn't need a title. He forced his eyes open. She was watching him. The stage door stood open. Beyond it, the white stage light waited. "They're all yours," she said. He could not move. His thoughts scrabbled like a squirrel in a trap. Disjointed pictures flashed through his head. Bayard Keating, glaring at the stage. Jeanette, sitting with her hands clasped in her lap, waiting. And someone who wasn't there. A face just like Sam's, but older, as still as ice, with dark eyes remote behind glasses. How did Sam plan to make good in his life? His father had asked him that so many times. Sam had no answer. And then another face, a wasted one, on a pillow. "I'll be listening tonight, from up here." Sam's hands let go of each other. His shoulders went back and his chin lifted. "Okay, Gil." His footsteps sounded like pistol shots. At the last instant before he stepped into the light, he felt a touch on his shoulder. "Give them hell." He thought that was what he heard in Lydia's pressed flower voice, but he couldn't be sure, because the sound disappeared into the applause that beat against his eardrums like a clash of gravel. The white light poured down on him, and he went out to meet it. When you rehearsed, you treated phrases and even individual notes like pearls. You buffed them one at a time, strung them together with careful attention. There was no such thing as spending too much time on any one moment. All of them were essential. In performance, you forgot all of that. The notes were not pearls anymore. They were rubies and emeralds, amethysts and sapphires, or they were pieces of colored tile in a mosaic, or they were drops of paint in the largest mural you ever saw. They flowed past and poured around you. You stood in a living stream of color. When Sam stood in front of the orchestra with the white light on him and the audience behind, he could not imagine anyone not wanting to give up their whole self, down to the last drop, to this. Beethoven, the deaf genius, had felt like an outcast because his failing hearing isolated him from the world. He stormed and shouted, raged at God, lived in constant physical pain. Out of that, he wrote this music. The strings were velvet and the winds were silver. Their individual lines of melody met and blended at the podium. In the voices of the instruments coming together, Sam heard the voice of the other maestro, the real one who had written this piece. By the end of his life, Beethoven couldn't stand up on a podium alone to conduct his own music, or sit down at a piano to play in public, because his ears would not tell him what his hands were doing. Sam could imagine that maestro's voice in its gravelly roughness. "You, boy," it said to him, "what are you going to do?" "The best I can," Sam told it. "Sir."